Hi, I'm Colin Jones. I'm a clinical professor of finance at the Darla School of Business, and I'd like to talk to you about what it means to be a finance major here. So what is finance? You can think of finance as a subset of economics, where economics is the science of how to optimally allocate scarce resources like land, labor, and capital, and finance focuses on the subfield, just the optimal allocation of capital, which is money. The way I like to think about finance is a framework for making value maximizing decisions. We use numbers and data to answer very challenging questions like what is a project worth? Which project should companies pursue? Which country should they expand into? What's the value of a company? What's a share of stock worth? How likely are they to repay us if we lend them money? How much reward do I need for the risks that I'm taking? And many, many more questions. We use numbers to try to answer these things in a very systematic way. Your job can look a number of different ways depending on what you do with your finance degree. But the nice thing about a finance degree is how applicable it is across the board. Like I said, it's a framework for making decisions, and no matter what your job is, we're going to be dealing with uncertainty and trying to make the best decision we can with the information that we have. So you could end up working at a company. This would be corporate finance, helping them decide which projects to take, managing their cash levels, raising capital to launch those projects. You might end up in corporate or commercial banking, and this is lending money to companies. And so I first have to ask myself, are they going to pay me back? And this is evaluating their credit risk. And then I'm doing a lot of relationship management too, helping companies get the financing they need to achieve their projects. You might end up in wealth management, which is helping individuals plan their retirement, save for college funds, helping them realize their options and invest wisely.
When I came out of school, I went to work for a Japanese bank for a bit. Then I went to work for an American bank for a bit. Then I decided I wanted to get into the development side, and somehow ended up working for an international consulting firm, doing a lot of work in Latin America and the Caribbean. For my job, I'm kind of multifocal. I do a lot of real estate asset management, where I have a portfolio of real estate assets that I am actively engaged with, making sure that they're on track with business plans, construction deals, making sure budgets are okay, things are coming out of the ground.
I see a lot of different things. I get a lot of freedom and a lot of responsibility handed towards me because of the skill set that I have shown and being open to a lot of new things and being a team player.
So here's the finance major. We have our 4 core courses. You've got the Intro to Finance course 363. That's required for all business school majors. And then the other 3 core courses are corporate finance, investments, and financial statement analysis. After that, you get 2 electives across this range of offerings we have, so you get to customize your education to your interests. You might intuitively think that math is all we do in finance, and that is certainly part of it. You have to be comfortable with basic algebra and some light calculus. But beyond that, mastering the applicable toolkit is not that difficult. It's relatively trivial after a few years of coursework in finance. The hard part is applying it in this very uncertain, ambiguous world. And so you have to be creative, and you have to be curious, because there's tons of financial markets, there's tons of opportunities.
So the type of people who succeed in corporate finance are, 1, creative. We differentiate ourselves from our competitors based on the ideas that we provide. People who have an extreme attention to detail. You're at the end of the day, you're basically dealing with accountants and finance professionals who will check every number and ensure that it's ticked and tied. So you can have the best idea in the world, but if your financials don't foot, even on a detail that doesn't matter, it throws everything else out.
The most important, I think, is interpersonal skills, because we're managing relationships at a very high level. And you have to have that skill to be able to work with people, because we're dealing with people every day. We're not sitting behind a terminal and trading. We're dealing with people face to face.
So what are some characteristics of the finance industry? I want to tackle this 2 ways. 1, I want to talk about the nature of the industry and why it might be exciting. So it's inherently global. Dollars, yen, rand, they don't care where they can find the best investment. So they are constantly searching the globe for the best place to spend their capital. It's very, very fast paced. It's very sensitive to world economic conditions. You can look at the Wall Street Journal every morning as evidence of this. Things are constantly changing. We're constantly dealing with new events, and we have to incorporate that into our thinking and that framework I talked about for making decisions. It's relevant to all sorts of organizations and individuals, so corporations, non-government organizations, nonprofits, governments themselves, and of course individuals. It's a very applicable toolkit that we can use for a variety of decisions. Another thing to know is that it's very intense. It's a lot of hours. It can be very hard work. It's challenging. Success can be immensely profitable. Errors can be devastating for a company or for a mutual fund. You have to be really ambitious because, like I said, finance can be very profitable and people can tend to be very competitive, and there's huge gains to having a good skill set here. And so it's not a major for the lazy. You have to be incredibly hardworking and very diligent to get the most out of it. In finance, you get more out of it the more you put in. And so it's a very good match for people that really want to push themselves and try to achieve the most they possibly can.
Grades are important. Grades are really important. I didn't take grades that seriously. It's the first thing we look at. You know, if you don't have a great GPA, you're not going to get in. But at the same time, the GPA doesn't necessarily determine the success you're going to have in your career. And we're a little bit, ebbing and flowing in our workload. So there may be weeks where I'm there till, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and there may be other weeks where leisurely I get to leave at 6:30. So it's great.
If I were to give advice to a freshman in business school who's interested in a career in banking, I would say understand what banking is and why you want to do it. It's a very demanding, personally and professionally, career, but it's also a very rewarding career.